marginal growth of the Venezuelan economy after the presidential election. Well, today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
How the election is going to affect the further economic growth, but this time is the scenario is a marginal growth for the Venezuelan economy. And first, I have to give the disclaimer that this particular video was recorded just before the Venezuelan election. Afterwards, we're going to keep having further analysis with the results of the Venezuelan election and every event that happens afterwards. This particular scenario that I'm reacting, it comes from someone that I respect a lot here in the country. His name is Andres Guevara. He tweeted this on X the other day, mentioning that if Maduro and the Chavismo stays in power, the most likely outcome for the Venezuelan economy in years to come is a marginal growth of the Venezuelan economy and just a few adventurous, courageous outlier investors coming to the country. And actually, some of them are actually my clients. So shout out to you, courageous investor here in the country. Now, it's funny when I read this from Andres Guevara that actually he's a lawyer that he then specialized on economics. And very good. I think he's brilliant, Mr. Guevara. But what I'm seeing right now, and this is the most interesting thing about this particular tweet, that the consensus amongst the economic minds here in the country, including myself, is that the worst case scenario is going to be some sort of marginal growth here in the Venezuelan economy. No one is giving this draconian scenario that, for instance, Peter Seyhan mentioned the other day, and I did a reaction where the collapse that we're going to have in the future is going to be way worse than the collapse that we had on 2017. And well, the issue with Peter is that he's neither an economist and he's not even Venezuelan. And he's not, and macroeconomics is not his specialty, at least from Venezuela, from what I can tell. Already covered Peter Seyhan's analysis that I think is inaccurate regarding Venezuela. However, regarding the people that I respect a lot here in the country, people like Asdrúbal Oliveros that I mentioned here, he's my favorite Venezuelan economist, and we have other, some other characters regarding Venezuelan analysis. And in this particular case, Andres Guevara, that he is actually, I think, he's a very wise man, and he's giving that his worst case scenario is this particular marginal growth. He's not calling a recession, a contraction, anything like that, a collapse. He's just saying the worst case scenario is a marginal growth. And I agree until a certain degree. I gave my particular analysis, and such analysis is that a conservative estimation of GDP growth on the future is, on the next 10 years, is from $100 billion of GDP right now in Venezuela. Remember, we had 400 billion on 2012. And then we had a collapse when it reached just a little bit over 40 billion on GDP. And right now, of course, we over double the 2.5x that amount regarding GDP. Right now, we're over 100 billion of GDP in Venezuela. And my conservative, here in Venezuela Insider, our conservative estimation is 200 billion on the next 10 years. And that's a conservative estimation with Maduro in charge, with sanctions, with everything going on. Now, if you want a really bullish, positive sentiment for the future and a positive estimation, you can 3-4x that amount. Now, I found this interesting, why the smart financial economic people here in Venezuela have the worst case scenario as just a marginal growth. Well, the first issue, and I discussed this just a few months ago, is the dead cat bounce. In economics, this is just a sudden rebound of any given financial asset after, after it collapses. That is actually what happened in Venezuela. And after the rebound, anything can happen. First, we have to be clear that when Venezuela was at his peak, regarding GDP is because most of the GDP is tied to the oil industry. And back then, we had a commodity super cycle. The oil prices were over $100 per barrel. And back then, Venezuela was producing 3 million barrels of crude oil per day. And also remember that Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Very good. On the next few years, the oil prices collapsed worldwide, went from $100 per barrel to 20 in 2015. And also the Venezuelan oil economy collapsed thanks to corruption, to this particular gentleman, Rafael Ramirez, and then this random guy, Eulogio del Pino, took over of the Venezuelan oil industry, and then we had a bunch of lackluster individuals. Very good. Also thanks to the communist socialist policies, first by Hugo Chavez, and then by Nicolás Maduro, that collapsed the private sector here in Venezuela. And then on 2018, Maduro did a 180, a silent 180, because he never advertised this actually, when he started applying more neoliberal economic policies. He lifted price controls, capital controls, currency controls, and so on and so on and so on. He started being friendly with the domestic private entrepreneur and investor and businessmen and so on. Also, he reduced significantly the public spending, so he has been responsible, the Venezuelan government has been responsible regarding fiscal spending since 2019, let's say. And also, we had the de facto dollarization of the Venezuelan economy since 2019 that created a lot of stability, a financial monetary stability for the Venezuelan economy. Remember, Venezuela was on hyperinflation since 2017 until 2021. Right now, we have high inflation, but not hyperinflation. We have been on a disinflationary trend since 2020, let's say. But right now, the Venezuelan Bolivar plays a second fiddle on Venezuelan economy after the USD, because the standard for the Venezuelan economy is the US dollar. Also, we have to talk about all of the potential that Venezuela has. An excellent geographical location, an excellent place for tourism. Venezuela is a beautiful country. Also, high-skilled individuals. Many Venezuelans have STEM degrees, and they have trades, and they have skills. So most Venezuelans are actually very skilled people. So the human capital of Venezuela is actually very valuable. And also, you have to talk about all of the intangibles that can convert into tangible GDP value for the Venezuelan economy, like the synergy, the social synergy that you see in Venezuela, and very friendly people. That is important on the macroeconomic term, is very important in order to do business, talking the average Venezuelan. And also, of course, the beauty of their women, that also creates GDP, by the way. And also the synergy, the social synergy. Many people want to come to Venezuela because they found making friends is easier, dating is easier, creating a sense of community is easier, and that has economic value. Actually, several people have moved here in Venezuela from, first world countries, beautiful, rich, high-tech companies, to Venezuela because they like that. Because it doesn't matter if you live surrounded by skyscrapers or something like that. If you don't have friends, you don't have family, you don't have a sense of community, so you live just on an apartment, let's say a luxury apartment, still an apartment, not much that a dog of a cat. And actually, one of my favorite examples of this, I don't remember her name. This is a German lady. I'm gonna post it here because she's a very nice German lady that she traveled all over the world, and she visited Margarita Island, and she left everything behind of her life in order to establish a tiny small business next to the beach, and she created a sense of community both for Venezuelans local of the island over there in Margarita Island, but also for internationals that are very pleasantly surprised for that particular decision. And even according to her words, is that the Germans that visited her when she started with her business, she said, you know what, you are rich because you are enjoying this particular paradise next to the beach, making money and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, the average German has to work very hard in order to enjoy this just once per year. So the talent and the potential is out there, is right here in the country regarding, of course, the oil industry, but also the non-oil industry, but also we have to talk about the consumer behavior of the Venezuelan, that he is not frugal. The Venezuelans are spender when they have money. Have to agree on that. All of the social synergy, the geographic location, and also that less competition that you're going to have here in the country, and so on and so on and so on. So if you are a very good entrepreneur with know-how, you have a lot of potential here in the country. Now, of course, the big elephant in the room is the political situation, because Maduro, the current president, has a terrible, face for the international investors, especially for a Western investor. And that's perfectly understandable. However, if, let's say, a center right-wing candidate wins this particular election, in this particular case could be Maria Corina Machado or Edmundo González Urrutia, takes over the Venezuelan political presence, that will create a bullish sentiment towards the Venezuelan economy in years to come.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.